Hey, my name is Isaac Diaz Cruz, and this is my film project. So, a few weeks back, we did a film essay, and it was on 2 to 3,000 word, based on a specific film, podcast, or just an analysis of something along the lines, including film. So, for this film project, I'm just going to be talking about the main points that I discussed in my paper. So let's get into it. So in this class, we have discussed the view and writings about films throughout this semester with more excellent insight, nuance, and depth. We investigated the nature of film as an art form, a medium of communication, or what most call a social phenomenon. We also explored the role of the scholar and critic in the film world, applying a variety of theoretical frameworks and critical methodologies to discussions of mediums. With the teachings of Professor Beam, we're now able to analyze the deepened aspects of film, building a deeper and more specific understanding of the formal film elements. For this semester's analysis, I did it on the 2000 film Red Dragon, investigating the philosophical dimensions and implications of the film, including the ethics, ontology, and how the film reflects and influences the human pursuit of knowledge. As well, I went in depth on the analysis of how the elements of film theory tie into creating this masterwork. These theories include apparatus, formulas, and structuralist theory. So, before going into the elements and analysis of the film, why is film theory so critical? It matters because it helps us understand the films that we watch on a deeper level. We can understand the individual films and the relations to others made by the same creatives simultaneously, place, or genre. What is Red Dragon? Red Dragon was a prequel directed by Bree Ratner, most famous for the two Rush Hour movies in 1998 and 2001. The plot takes place before the events of The Silence of the Lambs. In this movie, a deranged serial killer is killing entire families every month of the night on the full moon, given the name the Tooth Fairy. Jack Crawford, an FBI agent, calls in a retired agent called Will Graham to help catch the killer, but unfortunately he left the FBI after being wounded while capturing Hannibal Lecter. Now, he must interview the serial killers to see if he can find any clues or knowledge on the case at hand. He needs to get inside Hannibal Lecter's mind if he'll be able to have any chance of catching the Tooth Fairy. Meanwhile, the killer struggles with himself when he begins to fall in love with his fellow employee. For Graham, that means confronting his past and facing his former nemesis, the now incarcerated Lecter. The thing about this film is that it holds on to the former evils that relate to a vital form of subjectivity and philosophical dimensions. The criminal is an educated and deranged mastermind managing to escape away the meanings of the confinements that are the interpretations of police activities, hinting at the realism of everyday life. Realism shows the unfiltered and realistic world. Realism in which Lecter is imprisoned in a stone dungeon in an asylum. Also, the realm of everyday life in which heinous crimes are done, and the other involves the detective's work elements that combine the two. Ironically, ontology is used as a means for Will Graham. So what is ontology? Ontology seeks the classification and explanations of entities. It is the object of inquiry and what you set to examine. Will Graham uses the concept of existence, being, becoming, and reality to categorize Hannibal Lecter, Tooth Fairy, into one of these entities at its most fundamental level. The irony is that he places Hannibal and Tooth Fairy to a standard not of his own. Yet, the only reason he can comprehend how these two psychopaths' minds think is that the three of them are more alike than you think. Like Will Graham uses viewpoints and elements to dig deep into the minds of his nemesis, the viewers that watch this film analyze the visuals and sound elements they see to find meaning. This is also known as the apparatus theory, popularized in the 1970s. It suggests that all films reflect reality somehow, and that every film element has meaning. People who believe in this, such as the audience, believe that they can learn more about the film's meaning by analyzing its elements. We see two people who conflict with one another. We find some realism and formalism by relating these altered realities created by the director to our own lives. We have had experiences with ourselves that relate to Will, meaning struggling with our own self-identities or battling wars in our own minds. Also, having confusing feelings towards another human being like Hannibal Lecter. We can use our real human experiences to relate both characters in the film, whether they are bad or good. So, the ability for the audience to connect to Red Dragon helps to display the film's primary theme. Structurally